Have I read the article? Yeah, I've read the article. Everybody's worried about Gary. He's completely out of control.
It pays for me to put up with Gary's unrealistic demands and tirades. I mean, after all, this year he spent over $500,000. It's the carnations, it's the sunflowers, it's the poinsettias, the mums. It just goes on and on and on.
I've known Gary over the years. Whatever Gary wants, Gary gets, because, he's got connections, if you know what I mean.
In the mail comes this High Society magazine. I look at it, it's Gary Hill. Oh my God, I get something in the mail without a request for money. It's amazing. Every time I hear from Gary, it's either a phone call for money or his handshake is this way. Not this way, this way. Excuse me, I'd give him a hard time, but I respect my elders.
This is horrible. I can't believe they print such terrible lies about my friend Gary. We really have to do something about this. We want to get to the bottom of it. I feel awful. How was that? Was that good? Great. Well, listen, I had to say something good about him. He raises all this money for us, so...
He's not with you, is he? Okay, come on in. I don't know how the guy does it. As soon as we get a payment from a big client, Gary somehow finds out and starts hitting us up for a donation. God, he gives new meaning to the phrase, pay to play.
Gary's road to socialite status began December 25, 1957, in Reading, Pennsylvania. He was born into the family of Lorraine Hill and her husband Warren.
We always taught Gary to be a giving and kind person.
The oldest of 4 children, Gary was 7 years old when he first started down his destructive path of providing for others.
That year, we kept having to buy him new bikes because every time we got him one, he would donate it to a needy kid. We thought it was just a phase. It actually got so bad that one day we heard him badgering our neighbors saying, "Do you have any bikes? I need more bikes." It was at that point that we knew he had a problem.
As Gary got older, his thirst for giving strengthened and spiraled out of control.
Hey, I always loved Gary's desire to help other people, but I never thought he'd have this unhealthy addiction that he's got. It's something that, it's hard to deal with.
At the peak of his volunteer addiction, Gary was a member of over 2,500 nonprofits. It was even reported that he would join 25 nonprofits in one night just to satisfy his habit.
If Gary would get a real job, stop wrapping those gifts, taking those pictures, sending those cards. You know what I'd like to do with that camera?
But Gary treated his volunteering like more than a job. It was an obsession.
I was walking down the boardwalk and I saw Gary pandering for donations.
There were times when Gary would disappear for days. I never knew where he was or who he was helping.
These are some of Gary Hill's medical records. John had called me to see if I could help Gary with his problem. After extensive research and consultation with some of my colleagues, we came to the conclusion that he was suffering from an unusually severe case of VD, volunteer dysfunction. We tried many different treatments, medication, meditation, even electroshock therapy. None of them worked. Once I made the mistake of recommending that he take a vacation. I told him to take a vacation.
Unfortunately, I saw Gary lose it one night. One night after dinner, he snuck over to our maitre d' stand and started to change customer reservations. Before I knew it, he was ordering new silverware, changing our plate design, and telling me what should be on the menu. From now on, I need to hide our customer list for when he comes in for dinner. I'm afraid he's going to borrow it and solicit donations for one of his many charities.
Unfortunately, this wasn't the only incident. According to a published report in High Society magazine, Gary's limitless quest for that next donation led to his infamous meltdown at Tiffany's. He had finally hit rock bottom.
Gary and I were supposed to meet for lunch that day, but I was late. I feel so terrible. If I hadn't been late, perhaps I could have saved him from the tragedy that occurred. When I arrived, he was being escorted out of Tiffany.
According to witnesses, Gary had a breakdown. He walked into Tiffany's and announced that 10% of all purchases would go to the MBCA's scholarship fund. It was at that point that police were called in.
He was being escorted out of Tiffany's by the paramedics. He was mumbling over and over again, "I am Atlanticare. I am Atlanticare." If only I had been there on time, I could have saved Gary from this tragedy. I feel so terrible.
At this point, Gary finally started to realize that he had a problem. He checked himself into Matriarchs, the ultra-exclusive private rehab facility. It was there that he learned how to function with his volunteer addiction.
Unfortunately, Gary will always have the uncontrollable urge to help people. At this point in time, the good news is that he's a functioning volunteeraholic. The bad news is that this condition tends to deteriorate, and if Gary gets any worse, God help us all.
It is safe to say that Gary will never recover from this, but those who know Gary wouldn't have it any other way. And on this day, we, and all of your friends, wish you good luck and a happy 50th birthday.
I'd like to thank my family and friends for being here for my 50th birthday, and also a special thank to the birthday committee for all their hard work. And you can purchase these DVDs for a nominal fee that benefits local charities.
Missing? I was never missing. I was hiding from Gary Hill.